may be able to continue. Okay, I'm told that they'd still try to work on. So again, those of you following from cable or radio station, we apologize for the interruption. I was saying that we have been constantly getting disrupted in our broadcast because of perhaps the ideas, perhaps the language we are using. However, every time we get censored through this program, there isn't anything strange that we are referring to. For instance, right now we're talking about refugees and stateless person. Explain to me why stations or all of you doing the censorship, why is it that you do not want us to talk about our African refugees issues? We have refugees all over the world. We have African refugees and so many other. Is it wrong that we discuss our own issues as refugees, as African refugees, as African stateless people? Explain to me why you find it necessary to censor a conversation as legitimate as refugee. You have the United Nations Refugees Commission for Refugees. They work in Africa. They work outside of Africa. They have various places that they're working in. I don't see you censoring them. Refugees have so many problems every single day. Is it wrong that I talk about my own brothers and sisters as refugees inside of Africa and outside of Africa? Is it wrong to profile a country and study the refugee status of those people? Stateless persons, whether be it in Africa or outside of Africa. Young people, young Africans, I want you to get to see every time we get censored for issues that we care about, because someone else wants to actually tell you why there is an issue in your own house who doesn't live in your own house. It's necessary to see what's wrong with that picture. We know we don't own social media. We don't own these platforms, but guess what? Very soon we will be able to have our own platforms where we can actually exercise the complete freedom and responsibility for our actions. So again, all of you who are censoring us, you know who you are. What is the problem? Us talking about refugee problems, African refugee problems in particular. It is not racism. It is not a hate speech. It is not some sort of a cult. These are problems we're dealing with every single day. I was born in Rwanda. I have been a refugee before. I have family members who are still refugees to this day. Is it wrong to talk about that openly, especially when you, stakeholders outside of Africa, have a direct hand in it? Is it wrong that we say that publicly? I don't think so. If we are going to share the responsibility, if we are going to have accountability of who's doing what, we have to be able to truthfully talk about it, frankly speak about it, boldly speak about it, and with no apology. We have open forum. When you disagree with what we are saying, you can openly come and say, hey, listen, this is wrong, this is inaccurate. You need to publicly explain that you committed an error or this information is not accurate. But just don't censor us just because you hold the keys of the communication. This is not democracy. This is not the ideals that this United States has been founded on. If we have two different opinions, you at the very least give me the respect of listening to me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but listen to my side as well. So you continuously terminate our broadcast because we, as Africans, have decided that for the first time, we want to take full responsibility of everything that's happening to us. We want to understand it, we want to discuss about it, and then we want to take action or actions towards whatever it is we're discussing. That's what we do here at Afri Dominion Show. We already know that for some of you, you are going to fight against the ideas. We understand. But fighting against these ideas isn't going to make you right or wrong. Censoring us isn't going to make you right. It actually gives us the advertisement. What are you afraid of? Especially if you don't have the respect to come and say, hey, listen, on this particular broadcast, you actually told the public this information when in reality, when truthfully is this way. Don't just babysit us. Don't just terminate our broadcast just because you do not want us to communicate to the rest of our families, to the rest of our communities, to the rest of the nations all over. But at the same time, we understand if we're using your equipment, if we're using your resources and all of that, you can do that. But don't use don't make it seem like, hey, you're trying to help us on one side, but then you want to tell us how you're going to help us. That's slavery. That's controlling. We are matured enough that we can actually work hard and resolve our own issues without you meddling in it. Again, we are frankly speaking, we are openly speaking and publicly speaking. If we truly are democratic as a people, why are we afraid to exchange openly and publicly? If you are an expert and you believe the content and the validity of what we share is not accurate, come forward. Bring a different opinion about it. But don't just terminate because we happen to have a different opinion with you. There's a good thing about censorship and you continuously terminating our broadcast. It's actually now forcing all of us to get together and create our own platforms where you won't be able to cut us off. Frankly speaking, yes, you can actually boss around. You can control what can be said, what can be broadcasted, and what cannot be broadcasted because you own the resources right now. But do not claim that these are public resources when you can determine what goes and what doesn't go. When you're looking at your private interest rather than the public interest. So, as we get out of that, let me get on and start with the actual conversation for today. I wanted to ask you, young people, can you live and realize your full life potential as a refugee or a stateless person? That's one of the conversation that I would love for you to think about, that I would love for you to talk about and imagine. That's one of my questions that I want to ask you. Who actually benefits? Who benefit from you being a refugee or for your refugee status? Have you ever wondered who's benefiting? What's the difference between a refugee person and a citizen in that same country that's hosting you? What is the difference between the two of you? Both of you are human beings, but is there any difference between the two of you? What personally or collectively are you doing today to change your refugee status condition or your stateless person status condition? These are the questions that I would very much love to talk to you about today, and encourage you again to boldly speak, to boldly talk, and have you saying in it. We cannot face the music if you aren't courageous enough to acknowledge that there is music to be faced with or to face. We have a refugee problem today as Africans. We have a stateless person today as Africans, or I should say stateless person conditions. We have many people who have become stateless persons. Why are these people denied the right to be citizens in their respective countries? Would you want to be denied your citizenship, especially birth citizenship? If you wouldn't want to be denied those rights, why is it that you can be a part or you can participate in denying someone else those same rights that you fight for every single day? Explain to me. Explain to me. I know these conversations are very sensitive to some of you, especially those of you who are actually direct stakeholders in the problems. It's about time. This is the season where we have to change it. We cannot live a life at the expense of the death of someone else. All of us are equal. It's a premise that's in these constitutions worldwide. But it seems like these premises only stay within those pieces of papers, but we do not bring them into action. And those who make an attempt to bring them into action are actually very, very, very much fought. You have fought again, you have so many challenges, many people, organizations, institutions who actually fight against you, who actually fight against those efforts. Why? The fear of change. And that the interest that they look, that they're actually seeking for those particular conditions are no longer going to be derived out of them. So let's go back again. If you are a refugee in a country for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, why would you want to be a refugee in that country without any rights as a citizen? A refugee person has very limited rights in any country that's hosting you. Any country that's hosting you. There are certain privileges that you will never have as a refugee, that you will never have as a refugee. Now, how can you realize your full potential, your full life potential, if your status as a refugee already has determined that there is a ceiling that you may never surpass? Why would you want to stay there for that many years? Why would you not be courageous enough to actually go back all the way to the root cause of you being a refugee and actually take the time, the energy, and resolve that situation? It is unconscionable. I think it's inhumane that you look at another human being and you belittle them and you make them feel like they're nothing. Another human being. same blood, same everything, but you think them way, way lesser than dirt because you don't think they measure up. And to add the salt to the injury, they're already in a desperate situation. You get to take advantage of them. Refugees are among the people worldwide who can be used and misused, and nobody can say anything. They are more vulnerable in the conditions that they are living in. Now imagine a stateless person. For those of you who aren't familiar with the difference between a refugee and a stateless person, a stateless person is that individual who actually don't have papers, who doesn't have any papers, or who have chosen to live a life without any sort of documentation, paper trail, either because they are fleeing or they are hiding from perpetrators, those who may want to do them harms. Consequently, they can never be helped. They can never have the benefit of having the basic resources necessary to maintain their life, the basic life living conditions. Why would you see a family that live that kind of life? A week, 2 weeks, a month, a year, 10 years, 20, 30, and so on. You'd live like you live like an animal. Why wouldn't you not support fighting against those life conditions, especially those of you outside of Africa, in whose country you have never had any wars, you have never had any refugees? And oftentimes you have a hand in the issues, the problems, the conditions that result in these people becoming refugees. We are fully aware that most of you also have no time to scrutinize, to investigate, to find out what is your country's role in another country, especially when it comes to warfare, when it comes to these refugees issues, when it comes to governorship of these countries, the control of these countries. So when we do decide to take back what is rightfully ours, you have a problem with it. And of course, I understand you are going to have a problem with it because, after all, most of you may be using the resources illegally from many African countries. However, because you don't care how you have acquired those resources, as long as your status quo, as long as your lifestyle doesn't change, you are happy. You can sleep happy without knowing how someone is living as a result of you choosing to take what is not rightfully yours. Young people, I submit to you, growing as a refugee, the things that we take for granted, the thing that you take for granted isn't available to refugees. Take, for instance, a simple shower, cleaning up. In your own house, you can go and take a shower anytime you so choose like. You can misuse water. You can take a 1-hour shower, 2-hour shower. A refugee person cannot afford and would not be allowed to take a 1-hour shower when the water is being actually provided from a tank. If you're happy, you get a few cups of water that you gotta wash and rinse all in one. While to you, you don't even think about the water issue. For them, they are mindful that even the water that's given to them to wash in the morning isn't enough. Let's take the food as an example. You have unlimited choices of what meals that you can eat at any given time. Refugees have very specific, predetermined food that they can consume. Why is it okay that you have unlimited choices, and for someone else, you predetermine where they are going to eat? Are you better than they are? I think not. And to make matters worse, oftentimes these refugees, they have a very rich soil, a very rich land that can produce unlimited food if they are in their own respective countries, communities, villages. But because of the conditions there at the moment, they would not be able to live like that, because after all, just like you, they would like to live in peace without any guns, any bombs, any fatal conditions that can prevent them from living their God-given rights to live and have a full potential of their lives. Live a full potential life, not at the mercy of any outsiders or the mercy of their brothers and sisters, because we truly recognize these problems are not caused by the outsiders only. But we cannot shy away from the fact that outsiders have a huge hand in it, mainly because of issue of the so-called limited natural resources that we need, that we're fighting over globally. We want to be able to get rid of this problem and actually figure out a way we can all coexist as it happened. Again, as a refugee, if you want to become an astronaut, can you just imagine a kid in a tent who can barely have a book, who can barely have a meal, being given the privilege of expanding haze of our knowledge, access to the facilities and the tools necessary to be educated to that level? It would be just a dream. So how can you, Africa, how can you, sons, daughters, and African descendant, resolve your own problems if you do not take measures necessary to succumb to all the excuses, all situations, all negative this and negative that you have seen or you have identified as a result of your conditions today? It is you who have to actually take the primary step, those initial steps in finding the solutions of your issues. It is you who have to work hard the most than someone handing you, giving you, lending you a help in your situations. And that's what we are saying right now. What personally are you doing? What collectively are you doing to take care of you, to take care of your family, to take care of your community in order to eradicate the refugee problem, your stateless issue, your stateless condition that you are experiencing at the moment? If you're not so interested in resolving your own issue, if that issue isn't your primary focus, what drives you day in and day out until you get out of it, why should an outsider worry about that when you don't want to have a when you don't want to take a lead in it? Some of you might say, we are overwhelmed. I understand. even as you are overwhelmed. Can you be overwhelmed for 40, 50, 60 years? The whole purpose, the whole reason of you abandoning your homeland, it is so that you can regroup. You can get a chance to think over the situation and see how you can actually readdress it. It is so that you can save your life and have the chance to recuperate and go back and face the music. You can never live your full life potential as a refugee. You already have a ceiling predetermined living as a refugee. And that's the truth, and that's a fact. There may be a couple of exceptions, but even those exceptions are still cherry-picked exceptions. So when we talk about these refugees problems, African refugees issues, we're really talking about it. And we want to absolutely seek the help to eradicate these issues ourselves, primarily, because obviously we are going to benefit from these issues primarily. We understand it's $1 billion industry. The refugee industry, it's $1 billion industry, if not trillion. You imagine as a refugee, if I have specific gifts, you can use my gifts undervalued. In some cases, I can exchange my gifts to you for a handout of food, water, just the basic life needs. When in actuality, had I been in the right environment, my gifts can actually open doors for me, can enable me to go further in life, can enable me to better my family, can enable me to better my community, even my nation. However, we have become so selfish as a people globally. We have lost that humanity within us to see someone else who's actually in the very lowest bottom of life, the very lowest point in life, the very lowest nightmare point of life, and try to help them get out of that situation. Not trying to solve the situation for them, try to help them get out of the situation. If you get the situation out from, if you take care of the situation without me knowing how you have done it, what happens if I find myself in that same situation again? Empower me, empower these families, empower these communities. Don't just solve the problems for them. That's what I personally call a handout. We don't need a handout. Give me the tools, give me the training, and help me to get out of it. Get out of the way also. If you are part of the problem and then you try to become a part of the solution, let's start by you not being a part of the problem. If you're not a problem, you won't have to go seek for the solutions. Specifically, if I may be frank, you cannot tell me selling a weapon in a country, that act of selling a weapon, allowing these weapons to come in your country and potentially falling in the wrong hands, creating a refugee problem, will automatically cause people to flee that region where you are fighting. Why can there be someone held responsible for procuring these weapons, for bringing these weapons out there? Let's have a complete ban of weapons on our homelands. Learn how to solve your problems without killing one another. It's possible. We can do it. Say no to free credits of weapons, mass destruction weapons. Do you know that you can get a free, brand new, state-of-the-art 21st century weapon before you can get a bag of rice? You can have access way quicker of guns, of bombs, of mass destructive, all these mass destruction weapons quicker than you can get food right now. What's wrong with that picture? Are you actually for me having a good, well-being life, or you're just doing business? Then I get to hear, guns don't kill people, people kill people. You have the right to, to have arms to protect yourself. I get it. But what is the point of having a police officer? What is the point of having a national military service? What is the point of having a security person, like corporations or companies? What is the point of having good working laws and policies that can actually mitigate those security issues? If all of us, we are going to have guns, then allow each and every one of us to have guns. But then again, also keep in mind that there are both short and long-term consequences of some of these decisions, which is where we have arrived today. I gave my country as an example, Rwanda. Rwanda has been involved in warfare for 31 years. For 31 years. But you will never hear that on the mainstream media. How can you claim to be stable when you still have military in the entire country, on the streets, in your neighborhood? They have embedded with the people. When was the last time you've seen a Marine embedded in neighborhoods? When was the last time you've seen a regular army personnel on duty embedded in your neighborhood? When was the last time you've seen a police officer stationed outside of your house during peaceful times? Again, there are always exceptions of those people who require security. I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about nationwide. Today, for the stability that the whole entire globe talks about, or the international community, it's there because Rwanda, it's a police, it's like a complete open on lockdown by the security, by the military, by the police, all in the whole entire Rwanda. Military no longer live in their own bases. They live with the people. They have embedded with the people. They boss around the people day in and day out. They have become like little gods in different neighborhoods. I do not believe that that's the kind of stability that you have in mind when you use a word like we are stable. I call that authoritarianship. It's a controlled country, open prison. The same way you ask for permission to go pee, same way a lot of these citizens must ask permission to do anything and everything. For instance, again, go check it out for yourself. In Rwanda today, you cannot just Take it upon yourself and go cultivate something of your choice in your own backyard. You will not be able to go and cultivate something of your choice in your own property. Today, go check it. The government tells you what to plant, when to plant it, and get this, who to collect what you have planted. Now tell me, if you're living like that, if these are the standards that you are living in, and you claim to be a citizen, what would not make you become a refugee or find yourself fleeing those conditions? Who wants to be told what to do in your own property? Certainly not me. And I highly think that you would not accept that either. So these conditions of which are pushing or forcing everybody to go outside, we want to talk about them openly. And we want to have working solutions about it. And we want you, the international community, to stop supporting these governments, these African governments, who are actually oppressing their own people publicly and openly, and you are blessing it. You can't say that something is happening here when you had the full knowledge of it before we started talking about it openly. You already know that refugee problem, it's a 72 years problem ever since the United Nations was created, I may add. So if you are given a mandate to take care of a project, have a beginning and an end, period. The same way you solve a look right now, COVID-19, within just 2 years, you have pharmaceutical companies, you have all kinds of organizations that have teamed up together and they are looking to eradicate. And so we are told to eradicate COVID-19. Why can we not have this? Why is it that we cannot have the same force, the same collective energy, the same endeavors to end refugee problems? You Africans, why is it that you can get together and you decide to get rid of African refugee problem permanently? It comes down to the will to want to do that. Are you willing to do that? Can you humble yourself to be in a position and get it done? Can you also openly and commit to actually fighting each and every one of the causes of these issues as refugees and stateless persons? I find it to be so crazy. I find it so crazy to see on one side, we Africans, when things happen, we go march at the United Nations. We literally go march at the United Nations and we say, please tell such and such president to stop harming us. Please tell such and such they are killing us. But all along, the United Nations is aware of what's happening, fully aware of what's happening, and they are negotiating. How do you negotiate with someone who's actually terminating your life, terminating the life of your community? Actually start from you, your family, your community, even all the way to your country. How do you negotiate with someone who have already decided you cannot leave? These are the issues we're facing today, young people. These are the issues we are facing. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about these issues. Even if they do censor us, it does not change the fact that these issues are there. You're going to have to stand up at some point and speak on behalf of the voiceless, your families, your communities, even your nations, in the eyes of those who do not want you to talk about it openly. If you want something so bad and you are convinced that it is absolutely, absolutely correct, you have to fight for that. You have to be willing to risk your life for that. We have arrived to a time frame or time period in our life today where it is unconscionable to see something wrong being done openly, and you just look away like this and you pretend like you didn't see it. That's the culture we have in Rwanda today. All of you who claim that Rwanda it's the new Singapore of Africa. You can get raped today publicly, and you would see Rwandese people walking, minding their business. A police officer can come and rape you. They can come and beat you publicly in front of a camera. Go on YouTube, go on the social media. You will see countless videos where police officers are violating people publicly. And not one single of them is prosecuted. Can you tell me that that's the culture you would rather see everywhere, including in your own country? I will submit to you that that's a hell no. So why is it okay that our brothers and sisters can actually tolerate that kind of lifestyle day in and day out, knowing that the very people who are committing these crimes are the very people or the same people that you are supporting today? It's unconscionable. It is unconscionable, and it's inhumane. Or it's inhuman to do that. And that's what we are saying. If we do not take charge of our own leadership, of our own, if we do not take control, if we do not govern, if we do not have the rulership of all our affairs as Africans in your various respective countries, these conditions are going to remain. Because the people currently in charge, most of them, do not have the very best interest of you and your families and your communities at heart. So get to know in your head that it's up to you to fight for the right thing that you know you have to seek or you're seeking for you, for your family, and your communities. Again, we ask no apologies for talking about these issues publicly. These are issues pressing to our families. How do you get to grow up as a refugees for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years as a refugee? And you have a place of birth that you cannot go to because that place of birth is being utilized by someone else because of either natural resources or other interests that that particular individual or organization is actually seeking from there. And as an exchange, you accept to stay being a refugee. Why would you want to become a stateless person for 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, few years? I don't understand that. The ideals of which we are fighting for on one side, for one specific group of people, why is it that it cannot be the same ideals that can be fought and awarded to the rest of the people? Could that be actually that discrimination that we are constantly encouraged to uproot amongst ourselves? Let me know what you think, young people. And let me know what you think, all those of you who want to censor us, all those of you who are keeping us from having these open conversations. It is wrong. We can tell you that, and history will write that. By the way, with or without you publishing a lot of this content, especially when we know that we mean no harm to nobody, and we are publicly talking to all of you, open for corrections as well. History will write, with or without you doing it, our story, our testimonies, our life today as it is. If it isn't you who's going to help doing it, at some point we are going to be able to do it ourselves. Guaranteed. In Kinyarwanda, they say burya sibuno, which means those days are gone. There are certain things that used to be done back in those days. Not today, not tomorrow. And with or without your permission, a lot of you can actually get to take notice. I think it could be a notice, and very humbly informing you that we are here to clean up our houses, to clean up our homes. You can take part in it, or you can keep on fighting against us living the very best life, living to our very best potential. But be assured, we are going to point you out as one of those people, as one of those organizations, as one of those institutions against us living our full life potential that we can have today. We know that there are those of you who can care less how many Africans can have a good quality life. We know that there are some of you who can care less. But it's shocking when you see an organization here, an institution here, openly saying, hey, we want you to do this, we want you to live well, but then right in the back, the same organization is fueling, is encouraging your destruction. It is hypocrisy at its best. And we see that every single day in various countries today. And that's why, young people, we are here to say, let's get our own house in order. Get to know your business. What is your role? What are you doing personally and collectively to resolve the issues pressing to you as a family, pressing to you as a community, pressing to you as a nation, pressing to you as a continent? Do you know those issues? Have you taken some time to study, to review, to investigate, to fully understand what's happening? Or you are too busy living your own life at the expense of your community? So I invite you, all of you, young people, come and work with us. We invite you with open arms. The problems that we have cannot be solved by one person, but one person can surely start. With my two hands, combined with your two hands, combined with someone else's hands, we can and we will get this work done, one way or the other. 247 years ago, the United States was never here. It was not a country. It was still a colony. But as a colony, they got to the point they had enough. They got to the point they were tired. They got to the point they were sick and tired. They got to the point they told the United Kingdoms, you will no longer take control of our destiny, take control of our lives, take control of our families, take control of our hard labor. And they split. They fought. Truly, they fought. but because what they wanted, they free will, they will to want to survive, they will to want to live a full life potential, made it possible for them to give birth to these great United States that you see today. Young people, get the history straight. Go read the history. The United States did not fall from the sky to the lap of the American people. They had to fight for it. They had to fight for it. And they shed blood for it. Even today, they are still fighting for the existence of it. They are still shedding blood for it. Why is it that you are embarrassed, ashamed to do the same for your own countries? Why is it that you can be ashamed to do the same thing for the continent of Africa? Stand up. Fight for what is rightfully yours. It is yours after all. It is yours after all. So it's necessary, young people, that you actually get to understand that and get to know where do you actually start. Can you be truthful to yourselves and who you are as a people? Can you be truthful to your communities? Can you be truthful to your families? Can you fight on their behalf, especially those who are voiceless, those who cannot speak, those who are afraid, those who are running under the halls, afraid that they may be kidnapped, killed, tortured, all kinds of things being done every single day to many, many, many people and families. Somebody's going to have to take the stand. Be it me, you, or somebody else, we all have to take a stand at some point. And you have to do it publicly. You can't do it in the dark. Because this is not an issue just for one person. It's a collective issue, a situation that all of us have to deal with. So young people, when we talk about these issues, these are the issues really pressing to our hearts. Those of you benevolent, those who actually are helping us as Africans, helping different countries to realize their full potential, you must be able to understand it and not sugarcoat the problems as they are, not sugarcoat the situation as they are, not cover the things of which may make you seem unworthy of what you're portraying to be. We would not be beating around the bushes of the things taking place day to day. Gone are the days where we go, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. We won't be doing that. Not this generation. So young people, again, I encourage you to come and do what you have to do. Do what you have to do. Do not rely on the United Nations Refugee Commission to do your own work. Do it yourself. Be the one taking the lead. They have the resource to help you complete those projects, those situations you may find yourselves in, but you are ultimately going to have to do all the hard work. You're going to have to unify as a people to get it done yourselves. Or you can wait another 100 years for them to make an attempt to get it done. Or you can work together and get it done today or tomorrow and not having to wait another day before you get it happen. So with that in mind, my peoples, I want to say thank you so much. Again, I make no apologies for us talking about African refugees issues and African stateless person issues. These are real issues amongst our families, our communities, our various nations. So those of you cutting us off, those of you keeping us from broadcasting this, We are also going to put you out there. Most likely you have a hand in it, which is why you don't want it to be publicized. So don't be a hypocrite. Frankly speaking. Don't tell me not to be a killer and you go behind and you give me a gun and say, go kill. That's a culture, a deadly culture that we are promoting. And we must stop promoting this kind of culture amongst our families, amongst our communities, amongst our nations, certainly within the continent of Africa. But I know it's going to take some time. Guys, we talk about this all in the spirit of truth, love, and trust. Measure, put on the scale of the truth, of the light, everything we're discussing here. Fact check, correct us, have a saying in it. The studio is always open. Be bold enough to own up and take responsibility and be accountable to what you are doing. And I get to become responsible and accountable to what I am doing. Us as families, us as communities, etc. And I also encourage a lot of you sons, daughters, and African descendants, don't be afraid. You have two important appointments in this life on earth that you have absolutely zero control over. Your birthday and your date and your death date or your departure date. You, as long as you live, as long as you have been born, you are certainly going to die also. In between your birth and your death, it is all these things we're doing every single day. Do you want to spend your whole life as a refugee? Do you want to live your life as a refugee? Or you want to see the gifts from within and bring them out and have an opportunity to share them with us? Have an opportunity to live a full life, a full potential, that entire potential within you. Live it fully. The choice is yours, but also the ultimate fight must be done by you primarily. I am for you living a full life potential that you can possibly live and realize between your birth and your death. Live fully. And give us an opportunity to write about you, to praise you, to say thank you for having participated, for having contributed in the betterment of humankind. But you must want that yourself. I cannot want that for you more than you want it for yourself. So that is why we say we have to stand up. We have to wake up as a people. And we have to fight for it. The same way all these nations had to fight for their own existence today. At some point, they had to fight for it. When do you get to fight for what is rightfully yours? The answer is for you to give and to determine. So I will not be saying much more. I want to say thank you so very much for all of you, for all of you, especially those of you who have participated and who have sent us some feedbacks. We know that these broadcasts are very tough and very difficult to some of you, but we are here to stay, guys. Whether be it on your networks, whether it be on your platforms, these conversations are going to take place with or without your permission. This means no disrespect to any of you, but we are the one living the consequences of the issues at hand that are not addressed. And we are going to be the one ultimately solving these problems ourselves. So with that in mind, please take some time and send us some feedbacks. Go to our website, afridominion.com or www.afridominion.com, or send us an email at info@afridominion.com. Get to know what we're doing, get involved with what we are doing. If you don't see much on the website, they are still adding more content there, but we have a lot that we are doing. Also, be sure to join our group, our private group on Telegram. Come and see what we're doing. Come and meet like minds. Come and let's work together and solve our own problems, one country at a time. Let's take back the full control, the full dominion of Africa by us, sons, daughters, and African descendants, all in the interest of African people primarily, and the rest of the world afterwards. I keep on telling you that Africa is more than capable of taking care of the entire planet Earth. Africa is capable of doing that. But that potential, it's still untapped. That potential, it's still controlled. And that potential, it's still untapped, only accessible to the very few, especially outsiders. So it buffers me and it perplexes me. How is it that you Africans know your potential, see your potential, smell your potential, yet you have the audacity to seize it and put that in action? So we want to do that today, whatever it takes and whatever the cost, because after all is our inheritance. I can be a stranger in a strange land and also be a stranger at home. I cannot be a refugee outside in a host country and also be a refugee in my own country. Those conditions, I have to fight. You have to fight. We have to fight against them with no apologies. It is what it is, guys. And the sooner you guys get to understand that, the better. Because you are ultimately going to have to do that yourselves. So, guys, thank you so very, very, very much. Thanks to our technical team for having actually maintained this fight with us getting terminated, with us getting cut off, with us getting censored. And thank you for the recording. By the way, even when you're terminated, we still have the full recording at the studio. We will use other platforms to broadcast these programs, because these are the programs that we value as a people. You may not value it because you may see that we are cutting you off from your interest. But at the end of the day, we also do matter. We also want to seek and to fight and to cater for our own interest, so that we may have an opportunity actually to allow you to share our inheritance. Because most of you today are stealing. You are stealing our inheritance. And that's the truth. You can censor that if you are offended by that as well, but that's the truth. So we're not going to be beating around the bushes of the things taking place in our homeland and come and apologize about it outside of our homeland. It's unconscionable, guys. It is really unconscionable. So thank you so much for stations that are actually supporting these initiatives. Thanks to HMG Network and the affiliates for having given us the airtime, having given us the resources, and having distributed our contents. Thanks to the teams in the background from various places working so hard to get this broadcast taking place or happen. We are truly appreciative. Thanks to the families on various platforms. Thanks to all of you on Facebook. Thanks to all of you on YouTube. Thanks to all of you on other platforms that do not necessarily are publicly available to some. And thanks to the radios and thanks to the television for allowing us the opportunity to communicate and to share with our own people the issues we share or we care much about. And as always, we are always going to speak truthfully to you guys. We are always going to speak boldly to you all. And we are always going to speak with no apologies, but with full respect to each and every one of you. We want to live in peace collectively, but we also want to live a full life with our all God-given potential. We want to tap into all of that and die empty. Is that so much to ask? So we love you guys. Thank you so very much. I want to wish you all a huge, super fantastic day. May God bless, help you guys. May God be with you guys. May God bless you all. I wish you a super fantastic day. I am Freeman Singirankabo here with Afri Dominion Show. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. All of you refugees all over Africa and outside of Africa. Be safe, reach out to us. Let's get together, let's come together and work hard and solve our problems as refugees. And also, all of you stakeholders, especially those of you who actually are working to eradicate refugee problems, stateless person problems within the African communities. Reach out to us. We can help you. We can work together and end this pandemic of refugee problem amongst us as Africans. So with that in mind, thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. We will see you tomorrow. Until then, peace.